Wow. Does it look much different to you?
Probably the surface might be a tad better, but apart from that, it's the same old Meadow Lane.
Oh, Jermaine, it's a pleasure to be here with you. How does it feel to be back?
Oh, it feels good. It does, and looking around now, I can see a lot of memories.
Yeah.
When I was a junior magpie, we used to be allowed to come to the games for free, and I would sit right in the corner there, just taking in the atmosphere. But no, it's great to be back, and like you said, this is where it all started.
What are some of your earliest memories here?
It was when we were, as a YTS player, I can remember we had to clean the changing rooms after games. You know, the days have changed now, but there was what I can remember the first thing when I walked back in. And my debut, I think I was 15.
Yeah.
Sam Allardyce gave me a debut here, which was for a 15-year-old. Quite big news and unheard of at the time.
If you close your eyes as well, you can probably picture or remember that sort of debut, hearing the fans and the environment.
Yeah, it was a miserable night, just like this. It was a miserable night. It was against Hull City. I think we lost in some a cup, but I can't remember. But no, it was great, and it was sad, a little bit sad that I left so early. But you know, like I said, I've got great memories.
So this is where the making of Jermaine Pennant all really started. But what was life like before your footballing days, a young lad growing up in Nottingham?
It was rough. It was tough. It was hard. A lot of drugs, a lot of crime, gang kind of warfare. But I just stick to my football, and I guess that was my saving grace to not slip down that slippery path.
Did you find it quite hard at times to sort of detach yourself from that environment?
A little bit, yeah, because at that age you don't really know too much. You just want to play with your friends and you want to be surrounded by your friends. But you know, they've got different, you know, paths in their lives and going on to different things. Where I just didn't really see it like that. I just wanted to be involved. But you know, I had good friends around me who kind of put the halt on that and said, you know, you don't really want to go where we're going. You've got a future, and fair play to them. You know, they did, you know, at times stop me from hanging around with them. So
would you say football has kept you out of trouble then?
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
I wasn't great at school. So I think football was, you know, the only thing that I really enjoyed, and that was my main talent.
Yeah.
So yeah, without that, you know, I don't know what path or where my life would have took me.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful to my family and friends to helping me progress that in my career, and you know, to be, in my eyes, successful. I think in this sport now there's a lot of teams who do work with youngsters from, you know, tougher backgrounds, because I think players and individuals need, you know, sometimes that support from, if they haven't got that family backing that, you know, another child may have or another player may have, to nurture their life and go on to do better. So there is things out there in the game that do help that. But when I was growing up, it was go training, you finish, now get on with your life, and, you know, not really much support from teams. But I'm grateful to where I got and to what I've done. And, you know, I won't say they're mistakes, I would just say they're memories.
Are you quite passionate about almost helping young players to almost get to their potential like you did?
Yeah, I think you know, I've definitely got a story, and I've definitely got a platform where I could do that, because it's a shame, it's a waste to see someone with bags of talent, but not make it to the highest level or the best of their abilities because they've not been taught the right way or led on the right path or giving the best advice. You know, you can't put every player and every person in the same bracket and expect the same results. You've got to tweak certain things to get the best out of a certain player. So if some kid's struggling, maybe I can say, look, I've been there, you've got to do this, and you've got to maybe, you know, seek help here to help them, you know, get a better career.
The background you came from, that must have made you grow up a lot quicker. How do you think those sort of life skills helped you in the world of football?
Hugely, really, especially when I went to London.
Yeah.
I was, 16, and, you know, coming from small Nottingham to the big lights, the headlights of London, you know, you can be overwhelmed. They can take you in, and it's easily to mix in with the wrong crowd and go the wrong direction in London. So that's definitely taught me to be a more stronger, resilient individual.
Yeah.
you know, I've seen a lot of things in my life that probably some people won't see in a lifetime. And obviously coming through a tough background, you know, I thought I could, you know, overcome any obstacle, especially, you know, coming from the drugs and crime and gang warfare. Thought surely football will be a walk in the park, and, you know, getting knockdowns. You know, I've learned to, you know, be independent, so it definitely helped in my favour.
Along the way, who are your role models, both on the pitch and off the pitch?
I would say, well, younger age, John Barnes. And then, you know, as I got older in my career, Robbie Fowler, then Michael Owen, obviously being a boyhood Liverpool fan, you know, followed the footsteps from my father. So, yeah, Barnes, Fowler, Owen. Then off the pitch, I would have to say Steven Gerrard.
Yeah.
You know, the way he conducted himself and the way he could conduct himself at Anfield, and Mr. Liverpool he was. So, yeah, I'd say them.
And off the pitch? I mean, you had a really special relationship with your dad, didn't you, growing up?
Yeah, and my agent.
Yeah.
You know, I think my agent in my latter stage of my career and the beginning was hands-on a lot. And anything I needed, it would have been my agent. Any trouble I got into, it was my agent, you know. He kind of took over the father figure at some point.
I was about to say, was he almost like a second father figure?
He was the second father figure, you're right.
Yeah.
So any deals, it would be my agent. So,
yeah.
You know, I've got to give a lot of thanks and a lot of praises to Sky, who helped me immensely through my career on and off the pitch.
And before you got to that stage with your dad, he used to keep you out of trouble quite a lot, didn't he?
Yes. You know, it was only recently that I got told a story that I didn't know that, because I used to grow up with a bunch of friends. We had the old and some young, and he would say to them, look, whenever you're going to go out and get in trouble, do whatever you're doing, please just don't let my son come along.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's an older, my father was an older figure, and you know, the gang kind of culture kind of looked up to my father. So he said, you know, if you're going to go do any misdemeanors, just please do not let my son follow. And, you know, and I didn't know that until, you know, recently. Yeah. And I used to wonder why, when I was younger, like, where we going, boys? And I go, nah, you got to go, you're not allowed. And I was upset, like, why? We're friends.
Didn't think you was part of the crew.
I'm thinking, like, what, am I not part of the, you know, we're not friends? And yeah, so that's why. So, you know, he, you know, kept me on the straight and narrow without me even knowing. And he always took me to games, and, you know, sometimes it was, when he was there, I felt a lot of pressure though. I used to enjoy it when he wasn't. Yeah. So I felt freedom. I didn't want to let him down. And it was, if I didn't have a good game, he would always give me, you know, instructions, but, you know, positive, but it would be in a manner where
positive criticism.
Yeah, positive criticism. I'd be like, okay, Dad. Yeah, so.
And did anyone give you any wise words of wisdom have always sort of resonated and stayed with you throughout your career?
Yeah, but sometimes I didn't listen to it.
Yeah.
it was my agent, and he would say, you know, look, when you're not playing, just go in, put a smile on your face, train hard.
Yeah.
Keep on training, because, you know, some of the managers might know you're probably one of the best players on the team, or the best player in that position. But then you'll also look how your attitude is in training when you're not selected. It's like mind games. At the time, I was thinking, well, if I'm never the best, just play me. But he would say, go in, train hard, always be professional. And if you don't play, you know, have your head high, and it will leave you in good stead for longer future in your career, which I should have took note, but I did towards the end. Yeah. So, yeah.
And taking it back to when you was younger, did you go to Meadow's Boys Club? Was that like a youth community? Yep. So what kind of impact did that have on you?
Oh, it was great. It was, those kind of, you know, communities and youth clubs are great for, you know, kids and children like me, especially nowadays. It'll get you off the streets. Yeah. It'll get you out of trouble, you know. We used to go in there, we used to go in the gym, play football, you know, all five-a-sides, and then we'll go out there, we're playing table tennis. It'll just be a good environment for young teenagers to get involved in, and just, you know, it was great.
Did you ever think of opening your own sort of youth community?
Well, like I said, for what it did for me was great, and I used to have a fantastic time there. So yeah, you know, if the opportunity came about, it's something that I wouldn't shy away from. I definitely look to get stuck in and give something to the community and the underprivileged children kids who would like to, get off the streets and get away from issues and trouble that, comes about nowadays and get into the centres and playing football in all sorts of sports.
And is it there that you started to realise you were quite good at football?
Not being big-headed, but
Yeah?
I realised I was good at football when I could walk. No, it was when I was about 6.
Okay.
And my dad went to Bournemouth Beach and my dad bought one of them inflatable balls and he threw it to me. And I controlled it and kicked it back and he was like, you shouldn't do that if you don't really know football. So he kept doing it and he was like, wow. And then he went to the shop and bought a real football. And we started practicing and he knew that I must have took some of his genes, although my dad was a left foot, that I was going to be, I like football, I'm good at football.
And at what point did you go, I think I have what it takes to become a professional footballer?
Well, it's when I first started my first football team at 9. I got invited and I went there and I think it was all blown away. And then in the games, obviously I knew I was head and shoulders above the rest. And then once I started watching football and thinking, that's what I want to do. So it was like really, since I really got into it, started playing for a team, is that I believe that, well, this is what I'm going to do when I'm older and this is my future, this is my path.
And there was no stopping you from then on?
Absolutely nothing else. There was not a moment where I thought, I want to be a policeman or a fireman. It was football all the way.
What was it like when you started to get recognised?
It was weird. It was weird at first, but I'm a humble guy.
Yeah.
So I just kind of just took it on the chin and in my stride. But obviously when you go to bigger clubs, and that's when you feel more eyes on you. So and that part's hard, you want to be out with your friends and,
Of course.
You might want to let your hair down, but next minute you open the front page and you can see yourself, on the first page. So, it's got its pros and cons, but, you've got to take it in stride.
I think, though, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you started out playing football, it was quite hard to determine being a footballer and not being a celebrity. Whereas today I feel like footballers are very much told you're a footballer and it's quite a thin line between it, but it was probably quite different when you was breaking into it.
It was I would say, a lot easier back then and laid back. There wasn't hardly social media. And I'm making myself sound old here.
No, not at all.
No, but the social media was, non-existent. So you could be a footballer and then you could have a celebrity lifestyle.
Yeah.
As long as, in moderation and performing on the pitch. Where now it's, kind of frowned upon, especially if you're not delivering. With social media now, there's so much camera phones and there's eyes on you even when you don't know it.
Yeah.
So it's definitely harder.
I think it's extremely hard to be, especially, imagine being 15 or 16, joining for a club like Arsenal with social media now. It must be like...
It'll be on,
you must be on edge so much.
It'll be crazy, and I think it would put a lot of pressure on the teenager.
Yeah.
Where when it happened to me, it was just about football, and so now it will be crazy, and I dread to think, what kind of effect it would have on the individual. And you would need really good people around to make sure that, is looked after and guided in the best way possible.
So you've been recognised. What was it like when the training really had to step up again? Or do you remember your first training camp or anything like that?
I think my first training camp was probably with Arsenal.
Okay.
When I went on pre-season with them. It was nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Because you with the greatest, the top players, Patrick Vieira, Dennis Bergkamp, Thierry Henry, and it's like, how do I put myself in their league now? But obviously you're a team, so you're all in the same boat, and you just don't want to do anything wrong, And I'm sure for the first couple of weeks, I wasn't even expressive. I wasn't myself. I was just, get the ball. Where's Patrick? Where's Thierry? Here you go. Just you do you, and then until you find your feet and you do something good on the pitch, and that's when you kind of, you guard and piece of you start falling away bit by bit, and you start feel like you're one of them.
Because Steve Sidwell, he really looked after you when you started at Arsenal, didn't he?
Yeah, he's a great guy, and I still, speak to him now and still do a few bits and bobs with him. But, he was a genuine and, proper geezer. He knew London. I don't worry, Jay, we'll look after you here. Come here, son. So he was, always great teammate as well, and always made sure, I knew, what was wanted in London and how to get and what. And, we used to get the tube to Finsbury Park to get on the coat to go training. Yeah. And great guy.
What was the transition like going from youth to men's football?
It was difficult. It was difficult because, like I said, it's, being at Arsenal, it's not easy. And, when I, kind of got through to the first team, that's when the Invincible era was kind of just starting. So to get into that was difficult. You had to be, top of your game. Yeah. And you quickly saw the difference in ability from youth football to playing with Thierry Henry. It was, the standard was just, so you had to learn quickly and become a better you, as soon as possible. And look, you had great coaches, Arsene Wenger, so I learned the best, and that's where I've got to thank my career really started.
And you had role models growing up, but then you were soon transitioning, becoming a role model for other people as well. That must have been a strange feeling.
Yeah, it would have been. Hopefully, they didn't follow me too much. Hopefully, they followed the good on the pitch. But I'm sure there is. Well, I've known that players, and I've got, tweets and messages and everything. So I used to look up to you. Yeah. Players come from. So that's that's warming. That's heartwarming. Yeah. And I'm glad that my ability on the pitch and the way I played, players looked up to it, and it rubbed off, and hopefully. Yeah. They took the good from my career and took it to their own.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you was only 15 when you signed for Arsenal. 2 million, England's most expensive teenager. I mean, what a feeling. That must have been a right confidence boost.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. I can remember seeing, at the time it was so big, I didn't really, know too much about it. I was like, okay, I'm going to Arsenal to play football. But it was on the way back, coming from London on the train with my father, or sitting on the train, and then a gentleman opposite was reading the newspaper, and on the back page I could see myself saying 2 million, the biggest fee for a teenager, and I was like, Dad, look. And then we got off the station, he went to the newsagent and bought every single paper.
I bet your dad was beaming, wasn't he?
He was chuffed to bits, and that's when I realised, oh my God, it's quite big, you know. So yeah.
And for you, what was the biggest reason to join Arsenal, for you personally?
I guess because of the nature of the club. A massive opportunity, from Notts County to the Premier League to Arsenal, one of the, at the time, biggest clubs in the world. It was you couldn't say no. I had the chance to join Tottenham, but my father didn't like George Graham. So he said, no, we're going to Arsenal. That was a no. Yeah. So he had kind of much of the say in it as well. Yeah. But, how could you turn down Arsenal? And their youth system at the time was probably one of the best in Europe as well. So it had everything going for me to, better and, kickstart my career.
And I know you speak very highly of your agent, but at the actual club back then, did you have a lot of support and mentoring and guidance? Because as we've said before, I mean, players today, they have player liaisons, they have financial management, mental health, so important now. Back then, it was very different, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very different. I would say more isolated. Right. It was you have to deal with things on your own. Yeah. I felt there wasn't a lot of people you could really go to and talk to with certain issues going on in your personal life, where now, you've got someone at your beck and call, which is great now, but, I certainly could have done with that growing up. But I had a lot of people like Liam Brady, looked after me a lot growing up through Arsenal, because he was the director of Youth Academy. Yeah. And, probably Ashley Cole, he probably put me under his wing. Once I started getting in the first team, he brought me under his wing and really, looked after me as well. And made sure I was safe, you know, like I said, because London, you can easily get swept off your
course,
feet
yeah.
and go and get in with the wrong crowd.
Yeah. But I think as well for you, you'd gone from almost nothing to a hell of a lot. You'd gone from Nottingham to London, where there's so much temptation around you. On top of that, you're a young lad. There's probably women on your doorstep, you know, you've got money. It's a completely new lifestyle, isn't it?
Definitely.
It's a completely new lifestyle.
Yeah, it's a big change from being a country bumpkin to the
Yeah.
city life, and it was exciting. I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed it. But there does come, you know, the downsides of it and the pitfalls. You know, I had to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all about a learning curve, and you know, you definitely learn from your mistakes.
And I think the thing is people always see what they want to see. They see the output, they might see the money, they might see that you get to play football for a living. But as you say, I think the flip side is there are a lot of struggles, wasn't there, back then? I mean, loneliness is a big thing. Going from Nottingham to London, maybe living by yourself, dealing with things by yourself. I mean, that's hard.
Yeah, it's hard, and it's hard in any aspect of life. People do see one side of football, but you don't understand the pressures also of, you know, you've also got a lot of money. Now a lot of people want to befriend you, you know, families, you know, a lot of family things start creeping up and a lot of pressures come there, you know, but it's part and parcel of the being you know, a celebrity or a high profile sports person.
And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think as well, sometimes players struggle today because it's the trust element of things. You don't know who to trust. You don't know if someone's being genuine. And sometimes maybe if you've had a bad game, you just want to know you can go to someone that you can really confide in. And I think for you as well, you said that when you was growing up, the loneliness or training really well, but not always getting played first team, etc. That was a real struggle, wasn't it?
Yeah, the trust is big, especially now, you know. You know, you confide in someone, and next thing you know, it's out in the press.
Yeah.
You can, you know, you can have agents who are only, you know, looking out for themselves and cannot give you the best guidance, and maybe they're getting a deal out of it, but on the back of your downfall. So, you know, friends and, you know, are they helping you in the best way rather than you might be down, but they're saying, let's go out, let's do this, and, you know, that's not the right way. So you've got to have good people around you, and trust is definitely a big thing in this game.
And even when you moved to London, was you still friends with a lot of people from back home?
Yeah, I was homesick for the first 6 months, probably to a year.
Yeah.
Every weekend I was on the train straight back to Nottingham. Couldn't wait to get back, and then leaving on Sunday morning, Sunday evening for training Monday. So that took a time for me to adjust. And then, like I said, it was players like Ashley Cole who kind of brought me under their wing. And then as it got on, you know, I came back less and less and started kind of a new life in London, but also with my friends as well in Nottingham.
What kind of wisdom would Ashley Cole give you then?
I don't know if I can say it on camera. No, we were just, you know, friends, you know, a good friend.
Yeah.
If I had any issues, I know I could talk to him, and even like off the field, off the pitch, and football as well. You know, if I wasn't pulling my weight, you know, he would say, look, you know, train hard, just do this, just, you know, because he would know, he would speak to us and he'd say, look, the boss likes you, just keep going well and you'll get your chance. And, you know, coming from a player like that, who I looked up to, because he came from the youth team and then he got into he was, you know, Arsenal's best ever left back, England's best ever left back. He was a great role model as well in the early years. So, you know, it was great. It was great.
Arsene Wenger's probably one of your favourite managers of all time, isn't he?
Yeah. It's not only his managing skills; it's his coaching skills.
Yeah.
He knew the game, you know, in and out, and it was, you know, such a scientist behind the sport as well. It wasn't only football; it was, you know, we weren't allowed to drink cold water; it has to be room temperature.
Yeah.
Which at the time I was like, oh, just give me a nice cold bottle of water. But he knew the hydration. I mean, hydrates you better, which, you know, we didn't know at the time. But his coaching of the game was great. One of the best coaches, and I learned a lot from him. Sure.
And you were definitely one of those players that could just turn it on, weren't you? I mean, you used to play with your laces undone, but as soon as Arsene Wenger was on the pitch, that was it. You'd go and score a hat-trick.
It was in training. I used to think, well, the main thing is playing on a Saturday.
Yeah.
You don't get man of the match in training.
Yeah.
But I was known for, having my laces undone and just not being invisible for an hour, and then when need to, it's just turn it on. But that's because I would say what I've been told is I was gifted, and once you're gifted and you're talented, you can turn it on. Where some people have to work and work and work. Where I just sometimes turn up, and I won't say it was a great thing, or I would advise it. You should always give your best. But sometimes I could just turn on.
How would you compare breaking through to Arsenal now in comparison to back then? Because you've said before as well, back then it was quite hard for a lot of English players. They weren't always getting first team starts, were they?
No, it was difficult.
Yeah.
And this is why I looked up to Ashley Cole so much, because he was kind of the first one to break through, and then he just nailed it down. That was his spot. I had the likes of Perez, Lundberg, Overmars, Ray Parlour, all could play in my position. So I had a big task ahead of me.
Yeah.
And like you said, English players coming through then, or even playing at Arsenal was tough, was hard, and not far from few. So it was difficult to know. I think if I was coming through now, if I was a teenager now, I would have had an easier ride, 100%.
What makes you say that?
Because there's a lot of teams now investing in the youth.
Yeah.
A lot of teams are giving young players chances. There's a lot of 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds starting in teams now.
Yeah.
Where, it was kind of not heard of back then, but now there's a lot of chances for the young players coming through, where I was a big talking point back then, but I still wasn't getting that chance. I made my debut at 21 and I joined Arsenal at 16. So, it was hard. It was hard.
If you could go back to a 15-year-old Jermaine Pennant, what would your wisdom or advice be to yourself?
Right, tough one. But I think I would say, right, Jermaine, first thing, don't be late, be professional, get on time.
You were early today.
Obviously, I've learned.
Yeah, there you go.
I remember I think I just turned 15 and Sam Allardyce put me in the squad.
Yeah.
Be here at 12, team bus is leaving. So I was riding through Meadows on my bike, pulled up, left my bike outside, went into the changing room, no one was there. And the coach and one of the ground staff said, "Oh, what are you doing?" Because I'm waiting for the team.
Yeah.
They've left.
Oh, no.
I know, yeah, the team bus left.
Oh, you're joking?
Yeah, my first time to get in the squad.
So that would be your piece of advice? Always be on time.
Second would be just go out there, train professional.
Yeah.
Give it your all. Even when you're not playing, don't sulk. That was one of my downfalls and my traits. When I wasn't playing, I sulked. Because I knew I should be, but I sulked, and I would go out and my head would always be down.
Yeah.
Go out there, train hard, and always have a positive mindset.
Do your laces up?
Do your laces up. If you can perform well, don't. But do your laces up, yeah. No, third thing would probably be never drink and drive.
Never drink and drive.
Yeah.
But that's what we've said before. I mean, everyone in life makes mistakes. It's just that in football it's always highlighted. And to be honest, you did learn from that mistake, didn't you? Because you went on to eventually play for Liverpool as well.
Yeah.
So if you could also give a piece of advice to the young players today, what do you think they would say? Life's
hard. Always try and speak about it and speak to someone.
Yeah.
If you're going for a difficult patch, just go and speak to someone. Family, coach, friend, teammate, go and speak to someone, because it will help. Never keep things built in, because at some point in your life you'll press that destruction button and you'll explode, which I learned as well. I never really speak about my issues. Yeah. Later on in life I have, and it definitely helped me a lot. Yeah. I think some footballers definitely struggle with expressing themselves. Do you think it's starting to get a bit better now? Yeah, because I think mental health in general, is now more aware. You know, back then I think players would have had ego and goes, you know, I'm mighty, I'm fine, I've got no issues, I can't have mental issues, I can't, you know. But now it's you know, don't have to be ashamed of it.
No.
You know, get out there and speak, and you know, it goes a long way.
It's been a pleasure talking to you today.
Absolute pleasure talking to you too.